depot by the stars. When you look to the right, you'll see the Pepsi coming in now. Left is the case later to the extra EA300. Then you see down to 7 things burning through there. Current now the low wind version is the EA300 just on the side. Supporting expedition. Next, you see the fellows pushing the main formation to join. And they're hoping this will both start to have speed to go up to 4.5 speed, and will probably be less than 2 to 3 options, so we should get a number of pointed flights for the rest of the day. Outstanding.
In consideration of this decision, this article examines the F-22 program in an attempt to answer 2 questions. First, given the clear need to recapitalize its fleet, why did the Air Force acquire just 25% of the F-22s originally planned? Second, could it have realized a better result by making alternative decisions during F-22 development? Finally, the article briefly addresses current fighter acquisition efforts in the context of the Air Force's experience with the F-22. History of the F-22 program. Originally, the Advanced Tactical Fighter (ATF) program sought to counter a Soviet threat during the Cold War. The ATF's mission, air superiority, included finding and destroying high-priority enemy interceptors, standoff jammers, and large, offensive attack formations. 5. Plans did not call for air-to-ground attack, reconnaissance, or other, multi-role, missions. Advancements in Soviet weapons, especially the MiG-29 and Su-27 aircraft, during the 1980s heavily influenced the NEMI, the F-22 acquisition program. ATF's design. Developed about a decade after the F-15, these platforms possessed similar aerodynamic performance, although their avionics and long-range weapons remained inferior. Nonetheless, these Soviet advancements led Air Force leaders to believe that the F-15's decisive air superiority advantage was fading. They wanted the ATF to preserve the technological advantage needed to battle superior Soviet numbers without incurring unacceptable losses. 6. 7 companies presented proposals to the Air Force during the concept exploration phase. The service subsequently decided to incorporate a demonstration evaluation phase with 2 contractors competing in a flight test competition using full-scale prototypes, selecting Lockheed Martin and Northrop Grumman to lead the 2 teams in developing the YF-22 and YF-23, respectively. In 1991, Secretary of the Air Force Donald Rice announced that although both designs met requirements, the Lockheed Martin proposal was superior because it offered better capability at lower cost. 7. The Air Force considered the Lockheed Martin, Boeing, General Dynamics team more likely to deliver on its promises than the Northrop, McDonnell Douglas team, whose reputation was tarnished by B-2 problems and the A-12 cancellation. 8. Thus, the ATF became the Lockheed Martin F-22. The demonstration evaluation phase transitioned to the engineering, manufacturing, and development (EMD) phase in 1991. At that time, the Air Force forecast that the new fighter would reach initial operational capability (IOC) 10 years later, in 2001.9. Although the service intended to replace approximately 790 air superiority F-15s with F-22s, early post-Cold War cuts reduced planned production from 750 to 648 in 1991.10. At that time, it estimated the total cost of the program at $99.1 billion in then-year dollars. 11. Of that amount, $19.5 billion was dedicated to development, including $3.7 billion already spent during demonstration evaluation. 12. The remaining $79.6 billion went to production, making the average production unit cost APUC $122.8 million. 13. NEMI, the F-22 acquisition program. Early engineering, manufacturing, and development. In the early 1990s, the overall Department of Defense budget came under increasing pressure in anticipation of a post-Cold War peace dividend. By fiscal year FY 1997, the DoD budget had decreased 38% from its FY 1985 peak, while the procurement portion of the budget was simultaneously reduced by 2/3, both figures in constant year $0.14. The dwindling budget created an exceedingly difficult environment for F-22 development. The Air Force's post-Cold War sustainment strategy entailed sacrificing force structure and preserving modernization programs. 15. Implementation of this strategy called for decreasing active duty manning by more than 40%, from 602,582 to 351,375 personnel between FY 1987 and FY 2000, while the service aggressively retired older tactical aircraft like the F-4, F-111, and A-7.16. Consequently, by 1993 the Air Force's force structure had shrunk from 36 to 27 fighter wing equivalents, well ahead of the post-Cold War drawdown identified in the outgoing Bush administration's base force. 17. However, the new Clinton administration, determined to reduce the growing federal deficit, soon planned a second major restructuring of the military. The Air Force believed that simultaneously funding multiple development programs for tactical aircraft probably was not tenable. 18. Furthermore, senior Air Force leaders strongly supported the F-22. For example, Gen. Michael Lowe, commander of Tactical Air Command in the early 1990s and author of the original ATF Statement of Need in 1981, remained closely and continuously involved with the ATF program throughout his active duty career. 19. Gen. Merrill McPeak, then the Air Force Chief of Staff, declared in 1994 that the F-22 is probably the
Today, it makes its final appearance at a major international air show in German Army House. Here we have the British Blue, 4105 D1.